They don't know anything and they're dragging us down because we all come from immigrants, including you, Tomi Lahren.
She talks about low skills. What exactly are her skills?
Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh my gosh.
Well, I don't have to. She did all the research for me, so I'm sure my family is very appreciative.
What about Joy saying, though, what are your skills? It's beyond research. It is personal. It is mean.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to...
What is it like, you looking the way you look, coming into such a man's world? I'm sure you use it to your advantage.
Listen, I started at 21.
Uh-huh.
So I was the youngest political talk show host ever. People were caught off guard when I was saying the things that I was saying with the passion that I was saying them with, and so it was controversial right off the bat.
They do not understand the conversations about illegal immigration and immigration. One group of people signs the guest book and says, I'd like to stay, here's my credentials, the other sneaks in. They might both be fine people, just as there's a way in and there's a wrong way in.
It is a privilege to be in this country. It is not your right to be in this country on a student visa or with a green card. And at the end of the day, as President Trump has said over and over again, the United States of America will no longer be the dumping ground for the rest of the world. If you come here and you can't act right and you break our laws and you're a terrorist sympathizer, we will return to sender.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watch Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting. Those in glass houses should not throw stones.
What if someone told you The View didn't just spark a political debate, but kicked off a full-on Ancestry roast? It all started when Sunny Hostin, clearly in her drama queen era, tried to take down Tomi Lahren by digging into her family's immigration history. Yep, she brought out the receipts from the early 1900s. Bold move, but it backfired big time.
But I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watch Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting. Those in glass houses should not throw stones.
Instead of putting Tomi in her place, she gave her the perfect moment to flip the whole thing around. Cool, calm, and totally unfazed. What was supposed to be a mic drop turned into a boomerang that flew right back at Sunny. So the question is, who really ended up getting exposed? Let's break it all down in today's video.
She talks about low skills. What exactly are her skills?
Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh my gosh. 1930 census says Tomi's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German.
It's humbling because you've got people that'll tell you how great looking you are, and then one comment down, people will tell you how ugly you are, or that you look like a hooker, or you look like a porn star. People only look at you or talk to you because of the way you look, and then someone tells you actually that you're ugly. And
she doesn't even know her own history. She certainly doesn't know this country's history.
Fox News contributor Tomi Lahren is here to respond to that. So, Tomi, what led to that bashing on The View?
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration. And
one thing I've learned doing this show is I have very strong opinions and perspectives. Many people don't share those opinions and perspectives, but I want to have the conversation and learn, right? And I think we've gotten to a place where we're kind of like, it's like you either think this way or you don't. And if you don't, I don't want to listen.
that really started in 2016, I think. And that was a really polarizing time. I moved to LA and
people have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses.
Sunny went on about how immigrants supposedly come here without skills and drag the country down. Then she pointed fingers at Tomi. saying even she comes from immigrants. She brought up how Tomi's great-great-grandmother had been in the U.S. for 10 years and still didn't speak English. And then came the kicker. According to the 1930 census, one of Tomi's ancestors lived in the States for 41 years and still only spoke German.
Over the weekend, who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking, guys.
The idea that immigrants come over here and they don't know anything and they're dragging us down, because we all come from immigrants, including you, Tomi Lahren.
She talks about low skills. What exactly are her skills?
Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh my gosh. 1930 census says Tomi's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English either. She doesn't even know her own history. She certainly doesn't know this country's history.
Sunny's argument, Tomi didn't even know her own roots and definitely didn't understand America's. This was supposed to be a serious conversation about immigration, borders, laws, the real stuff. But then Sunny swerved and turned it into a family tree takedown, like she was on Finding Your Roots instead of a political talk show. She even joked about how detailed the Ancestry results were, like she couldn't believe how deep they went. Tomi shrugged it off, saying Sunny basically did all the research for her, and her family was probably grateful. Then Joy Behar jumped in, criticizing Tomi too, saying this wasn't just research anymore, it was personal and kind of mean. Tomi clapped back, saying Joy should probably check her own skills before calling someone else out. She said she respects Joy, but if we're playing the throw shade game, no one's safe, especially not in glass houses. Sunny clearly thought she had uncovered some explosive secret, like finding out someone's old relatives didn't speak English was the scandal of the year. But instead of going viral for the takedown, she ended up looking like she just got hit by her own punchline. And then someone asked Tomi, what is it about her that makes people so mad? Tomi didn't hesitate. She said it's not just her, it's anyone who supports legal immigration or wants secure borders. She explained that people on the right still believe in immigration. They're proud of being part of a nation built by immigrants. But the way things worked back in the 1800s was completely different. Back then, she said, people came legally, worked hard, built families, and didn't expect handouts. That's not what she sees today, and that's the difference no one wants to admit.
States, Tomi, this administration is actually going to be enforcing our immigration laws, where during the Obama years, not so much.
Well, during the Obama years, it was a cattle call to come into this nation illegally. And furthermore, this is, again, the left's attempt at emotional blackmail. And I would just like to state, I don't know if they understand this or not, but if you don't want your family to be broken up when you cross the border illegally, here's an idea. Don't cross the border illegally. Then your family will surely stay together.
Tomi, completely unbothered, not even a twitch in that perfectly frozen brow, instead of snapping back, she pulled out a calm, collected counterattack and turned Sunny's little gotcha moment into a full-blown policy flex. Sure, her ancestors didn't speak English, because, duh, they were Europeans in the 1800s. But they came in legally, played by the rules, built a life from scratch, and didn't rely on hashtags or handouts to do it. What started as a dig turned into a TED Talk, and Tomi, she served it all while looking like someone who wouldn't dare show up to a fight wearing flats. Then she pivoted hard. She called out what she thought was happening in blue states, saying New Jersey, for example, was scraping the basic literacy test for teachers. She laughed it off like, of course they did. Meanwhile, Sunny looked like she had just dropped her own cue cards. By dragging Ancestry into the conversation, she accidentally opened the exact door Tomi loves to walk through. Legal immigration, merit-based systems, personal responsibility, all of it. Sunny tried to hit with family history and ended up buried under a whole pile of historical receipts. And then Tomi dropped more backstory. She talked about her time in media, starting at One America News, where her much older boss used to casually call her a bimbo. She mentioned working at The Blaze and even getting into a lawsuit with Glenn Beck after she shared her pro-choice views on The View. In her words, those were different experiences to say the least. But of course, it didn't stop there, because what's a political catfight without Twitter turning into a full-on gladiator pit? Suddenly, everyone with Wi-Fi and a strong opinion turned into an immigration expert. People who'd never read a single bill were now yelling about Ellis Island like it was yesterday. And just when things seemed to be cooling down, Greg Gutfeld entered the chat.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
Fox News' version of a class clown with a political degree. Greg took Sunny's Ancestry deep dive and flipped it into a roast. He called out the irony. Sunny acting like a genealogy gatekeeper, when, let's be real, her own family tree probably has a few thorns too. He joked that Sunny's ancestors didn't exactly roll into America holding the Constitution and a dictionary. If she was gonna throw shade about someone else's roots, she might want to double-check her own branches first. It was classic Gutfeld, snarky, sharp, and dragging everyone with a smirk. The message? If you're gonna throw ancestral grenades on live TV, make sure your own history isn't a mess. And then someone online took it even further. They questioned where Sunny even gets her takes from, and claimed that it probably comes straight from her husband. According to them, she wouldn't have much to say if he weren't feeding her lines. Harsh. Yeah, but the internet wasn't pulling any punches that day.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City. True, the show that makes mornings hell claim that my name doesn't ring a bell. It's time for...
Our view on The View. Ugh.
Yeah, the witch's coven finally shows me some lovin'.
Then came the bigger accusation. She didn't want to admit her husband calls the shots because if she did, she'd have to label him as problematic. According to the internet, if he had said something like, "This is what white women do," she would have called it racist. So instead, she danced around it. But viewers weren't buying it. People knew exactly what was happening and weren't letting her twist a serious policy debate into a weird ancestry-based roast. Back on The View, things were unraveling fast. Producers were probably eyeing the ad break button, while the audience sat there confused. Was this still a political segment or a family reunion that went completely off the rails? Sunny tried to personalize the issue, but again, she just ended up making herself the headline. Tomi, meanwhile, stayed locked in. No yelling, no interrupting. She sat like a smug statue of policy perfection, sticking to her go-to stance. Legal immigration is good, emotional arguments, not so much. And of course, the internet had thoughts. The viewers quickly split into two classic sides. On one end, Tomi fans were crowning her queen of the clapback. On the other, Sunny fans were saying, nope, this needed to be said. Team Tomi called it a policy debate. Team Sunny said it was personal and necessary. Some even joked that Sunny's constant focus on race was coming back to haunt her. One commentator snarked, "Today's segment comes from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a place where you need sunscreen."
They don't seem to understand that we on the right believe in immigration. We understand that we are a nation of immigrants, and I am proud of my heritage. However, I do believe that the immigration crisis of today is apples to oranges from what it was in the 1800s when immigrants came to this country legally, were documented, worked for themselves, asked for nothing, and built a life and a family.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the illegal immigration crisis of today that we must deal with. But they don't want to acknowledge that whatsoever.
But things really popped off when Sunny appeared on Finding Your Roots, that PBS show that digs up celebrity ancestry. Now here's where it gets real messy. Sunny's always been vocal about race, reparations, and systemic injustice. She's built a brand on it, but her results? Not what anyone expected. Turns out she's not just a proud Puerto Rican woman. She also has ancestors who were European slave owners. When the reveal came in, she looked shocked. She admitted she always thought of herself as Puerto Rican and never imagined her roots went back to Spanish colonizers and slaveholders. She said it was interesting that her husband's ancestry shared similarities with hers. Let's just say, the internet ate that up.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was
my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living.
While all this drama unfolded on screen, the rest of us were just out here hoping someone, anyone, could explain what merit-based immigration even meant without dragging in the word colonialism. But nope, The View did what The View always does, took a complex issue like immigration and turned it into a battlefield of personal shade. What should have been a thoughtful discussion became a full-blown personality clash. And it all kicked off because Sunny decided that Tomi's last name was somehow up for grabs.
Did you provide them with DNA, 23andMe? Because I cannot believe the detail on your background that they were able to get.
Well, I don't have to. She did all the research for me, so I'm sure my family is very appreciative.
What about Joy saying, though, what are your skills? It's beyond research. It is personal. It is mean.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watched Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting. Those in glass houses should not throw stones.
Here's the thing, Sunny could have made a solid point. She could have talked about how assimilation isn't one size fits all, that not speaking English doesn't make someone less valuable, that every immigrant story is different, but instead, she tried to go viral. And sure, she got it, just not the kind she had in mind, because once that clip hit the internet, it was a wrap. Sunny ended up getting ratioed into oblivion by Twitter users with dog profile pics and 1776 in their handles. And the wildest part? Tomi didn't even have to do much. She just sat there, waited, watched, then used the moment to drop a well-practiced monologue about the American dream, legal immigration, and why merit still matters. It wasn't a debate. It was a slow-motion self-sabotage. Tomi didn't win by fighting. She won by letting Sunny walk straight into her own trap. By the time the cameras cut to commercial, you could almost hear the liberal regret echoing through The View's green room. Even Joy Behar looked like she wanted to hide behind her oversized glasses. When your takedown turns into a sympathy boost for the other side, yeah, you've officially lost the plot. And if you thought that was the end, think again. The drama lived on for days. Opinion pieces popped up like mushrooms after rain. Everyone suddenly had a hot take. Some called Sunny a truth teller, a fighter. Others said she crossed a line so sharp it could rival Meghan McCain's eyeliner. Tomi, on the other hand, capitalized on the moment. She started making rounds on interviews, reposted memes of herself next to the Statue of Liberty, and basically turned the whole mess into a free promo campaign. Because if there's one thing conservatives have mastered, it's flipping outrage into merch drops. And then came Greg Gutfeld. He didn't hold back, not even for a second. In full Greg fashion, he didn't just respond to Sunny's argument, he roasted it, slow-cooked it, and plated it with extra sarcasm.
Truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
They said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's gonna say she's never heard of carbs. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch and Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's moo-moo. The motives stink worse than Joy Behar's jog bra.
He dragged Sunny for going after Tomi's roots while conveniently forgetting to check her own. According to him, using someone's ancestry for political points is bold, especially when your own history isn't exactly tied up with a red, white, and blue ribbon. He compared Sunny's logic to throwing rocks in a glass house while blindfolded. Then, with a smirk, he landed the punchline. If we're gonna play ancestry games, maybe everyone should double-check their family tree for snakes first. Greg couldn't help but point out the biggest irony of all, that Sunny, who's always preaching about compassion and inclusion, suddenly turned into the immigration gatekeeper police when it came to Tomi's great-great-grandparents. And people ate it up. The internet lit up the moment that clip dropped. Greg's roast didn't just land, it exploded. Memes, stitches, reactions. It spread like wildfire. He ended his segment by saying, "The View wasn't even a political show anymore. It was basically cosplay for family trees, with applause signs and dramatic pauses." And just like that, Sunny became the punchline to the very joke she was trying to deliver. Then Tomi, cool as ever, hit back with a metaphor that social media immediately latched onto. She asked viewers to imagine their homes, locked doors, alarms, security, not because they hated the people outside, but because they loved the people inside. Then she compared that to America's borders. She said it's not about hate, it's about safety and having the right to know who's coming in and why.
One thing I've learned doing this show is I have very strong opinions and perspectives. Many people don't share those opinions and perspectives, but I want to have the conversation and learn, right? And I think we've gotten to a place where we're kind of like, it's like you either think this way or you don't. And if you don't, I don't want to listen.
That really started in 2016, I think. And that was a really polarizing time. I moved to LA in 2017. So I was in the hotbed of it when it was really divided and really polarized. And living in LA was a different experience, but it's one that I enjoy because I like talking to people that don't agree with me. And I like to coexist with people who don't agree with me. I think we need to have more conversations and remember that people are, at their core, really more alike than we are different, but things have gotten to such a place where we've forgotten how to have conversation.
And as that metaphor made its rounds online, viewers at home were left asking the real question. How did we go from talking about border policy to dragging someone's German-speaking ancestor from the 1800s? Welcome to the world of TV politics, where the substance is optional, but the spectacle always mandatory. This whole thing became a lesson, a warning really, for every political pundit out there. Don't come to a policy fight armed with Ancestry records, especially when the person you're targeting thrives off turning Backlash into brand power. Sunny aimed for the past and ended up giving Tomi a fresh spotlight in the present. And just to sprinkle some extra hypocrisy on top of the whole mess, imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine if Tomi had gone after Sunny's family tree on live TV. People would have been lighting up Twitter with cancel hashtags. Podcast episodes would have been in production within hours. And The View would have dedicated a full segment to calling it racist. But when Sunny does it, oh, it's context. This is where we are now, where the message gets lost in the performance, where the louder and more dramatic the delivery, the less people even care about what's being said. Tomi later explained why she thinks she connects with so many people. She said it's because she represents Middle America. While the coasts are busy talking to each other, the folks in the middle feel like nobody hears them. And when they hear her speak, she said, they think, she gets it. She talks like I do, thinks like I do, maybe even lives like I do.
So protesters take over Trump Tower, of course, during normal working hours when most Americans had to be doing something productive with their day. So here's the deal. There is a right to free speech in this country. We love the First Amendment. I wish some of these folks that were protesting in the name of a pro-Hamas sympathizer, I would hope that they would have been protesting when American citizens, were being censored over their COVID vaccine views, maybe the Hunter Biden laptop. It would be great to see some of that every now and again. But at the end of the day, the United States and our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, made it very clear. It is a privilege to be in this country. It is not your right to be in this country on a student visa or with a green card. And at the end of the day, as President Trump has said over and over again, the United States of America will no longer be the dumping ground for the rest of the world. If you come here and you can't act right and you break our laws and you're a terrorist sympathizer, we will return to sender.
She also pointed out that there aren't a lot of young conservative women out there speaking publicly, and that she fills that space for a lot of people looking for representation. Tomi Lahren, whether you love her or hate her, walked into The View's Lion's Den, got her ancestry dragged through the mud, and somehow walked out with more fans than she walked in with.
What is it like, you looking the way you look, coming into such a man's world? I'm sure you use it to your advantage.
Listen, I started at 21. So I was the youngest political talk show host ever. People were caught off guard when I was saying the things that I was saying with the passion that I was saying them with, and so it was controversial right off the bat. But I'll tell you this. I write about it in my book. It's humbling because you've got people that'll tell you how great looking you are, and then one comment down, people will tell you how ugly you are, or that you look like a hooker or you look like a porn star. People only look at you or talk to you because of the way you look. And then someone tells you actually that you're ugly. And anybody in media and anybody in doing anything, they understand that because just look at any social media feed. I mean, it's mostly negative. There's so many negative comments to everything. But you really don't get yourself too gassed up or too low, because for every nasty comment, I've got, maybe 5 nice comments. So you balance it out.
Sunny, she got claps from her usual supporters and side eyes from pretty much everyone else. Not because her message didn't matter, but because the way she delivered it came off more like a personal grudge than a real argument. So, round of applause for The View, the show that can take a national issue like immigration and turn it into daytime gossip. Honestly, immigration deserves better. Viewers deserve better. Even the 11 a.m. time slot deserves better. At the core, this was never really about Tomi or Sunny. It was about what happens when strong opinions crash into personal insecurities, when real issues get drowned out by petty digs, when Greg Gutfeld suddenly becomes the voice of reason. And let's be real, when that happens, we're all in trouble.
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sunny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter.
If this whole mess proved anything, it's that we've drifted way off course from actual immigration policy. This wasn't a serious discussion about borders, or reform, or security. This was a tug of war over who gets to claim the moral high ground, with a little ancestry drama thrown in for flair. At one point, the whole thing even turned into a shouting match about whether plane loads of undocumented immigrants were all criminals. One side threw the accusation, the other side said, "You haven't proven anything." And just like that, the conversation derailed again. Let's be honest, immigration isn't even about immigration anymore. It's not about green cards, it's about who gets to define what American even means. And The View? Oh, that show has officially become the arena for identity politics gladiator fights. Every week it's the same game. Who can go viral the fastest? Who can get their clap back into a TikTok remix before the outro music hits? You can practically hear the social media interns backstage lining up the hashtags before the guests finish their sentences. This wasn't political analysis. This was Real Housewives Immigration Edition. Sunny came with the receipts, Tomi clapped back with policy points, and both of them walked away acting like they had the final word. This isn't a debate. This is entertainment. And The View? They've got the formula locked down. Step 1, invite someone controversial. Step 2, set them up with a trap question. Step 3, watch the internet eat it alive. Rinse, repeat, monetize. It's so predictable, you could literally set your Apple Watch by it. Sunny gets personal, Tomi drops stats, and somewhere in between, a coffee table almost catches fire. So, did anyone really win this one? Nope, not in terms of actual ideas or substance. So the next time The View trends for political discussion, just remember, it's not about who's right. It's not about who's wrong. It's all about who goes viral. Because in today's world of hot takes and hashtags, debates don't end with facts. They end with followers. Welcome to politics in the age of clout. Tea served, mic dropped, end scene. If you've made it this far, you already know the tea is hotter here. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more unapologetic breakdowns, viral drama, and no-fluff storytelling. Turn on that bell so you never miss a mic drop. That's all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.